Delta State is Sheriff.
It is a memory I will cherish all my life because it is unprecedented in the annals of the Nigerian Supreme Court.
Thank you for making the judiciary very proud and respected. So we continue to support one another and bring Nigeria to that glorious dawn.
This is referred to the Committee on Banking, Insurance, and other financial institutions to revert to the Senate as soon as possible.
The three arms of government comprising the executive, the legislature, and the judiciary are founded on the provisions of the 1999 Nigerian Constitution as amended. As organs of state, they maintain distinct independence under the principle of separation of powers while working together towards the attainment of national goals. Separation of powers is a critical feature of democracy that creates balance and checks arbitrariness among institutions of government.
Democracy comprises of some fundamental principles. And one of these fundamentals is the doctrine of separation of powers, as well stated and developed by the French social and political philosopher as far back as 18th century Montesquieu. Now, separation of powers in terms of legislative powers, executive powers, and judicial powers. This is the order in which you find them in the American Constitution and in our Constitution. It simply means the executive, which is in the middle, the all-powerful executive arm of government, administers and executes through Mr. President or the Vice President or the ministers or any officers in the service of the Federation. On the other hand, the legislature, either at the federal level or the state level, passes laws, makes laws, right, for the peace, order, and good government of either Nigeria or the states, depending on which one you are referring to. Now, when you come to the judiciary, which is the third arm of government, which to me, it is the most important, it is the oldest, and it is the wisest, and the stabilizing force among all of them, including the judiciary itself. It interprets the law, right, and adjudicates among disputants, whether between government and individuals, organizations, among individuals, etc., etc. So you can see the doctrine of separation of powers simply means these powers are well defined and spelled out among these three organs of government. But at the same time, there must be a symbiotic relationship among them. In other words, despite the separation and the expected independence of each one of them, of the other two, there must be a relationship. There must be talking. There must be a conversation. There must be an understanding. There must be a link for them to efficiently and effectively govern the country and deliver dividends of democracy and ensure and guarantee the well-being of Nigerians and the citizenry.
Nonetheless, this political philosophy is not construed as administrative antagonism. The provisions of Sections 4, 5, and 6 of the 1999 Constitution as amended clearly spelled out the functions of the three arms under the presidential system. And good governance is at the core of this arrangement, with welfare of the people at the top. The executive arm brings fulfillment to the law enacted by the legislature, which personifies the Nigerian people, while the judiciary interprets and upholds the law. Though the trio must staunchly guard their independence, the Grandnum envisages the three arms working together in the overall interests of the citizens.
Since I assumed position as the Chief Justice of Nigeria about 2 years ago, there has been very cordial relationship between the Chief Justice of Nigeria and the judiciary of Nigeria with the other two arms of government.
It is a mutual relationship that exists between these three arms of government. And that's how we can have a very robust, very efficient, effective governance. And that's the only way the dividends of democracy can percolate down to the common man in the streets.
To ensure smooth takeoff of government business after the successful inauguration of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, the 10th National Assembly was inaugurated on June 13, 2023.
Godswill Abado, who has received the highest number of votes, hereby declared and returned President of the Senate.
In his congratulatory message to the legislators, the newly sworn-in head of the executive arm made a notable statement that now guides the relationship between the legislature and the executive. President Bola Tinubu said, "As your president, I'm prepared to work transparently with the National Assembly. Nigerians expect distinguished senators and honorable members to make laws and carry out oversight duties that will enhance the performance of government to achieve successful outcomes, including improving their quality of life."
The nationhood and the belief in one country will put us on the right path. Having you as a partner, having Abbas as a partner, as the speaker, is good enough for me to succeed.
We must at all times collaborate, working together with the other arms of government, talking about the executive and the judiciary, without compromising our constitutional duties in order for our democracy to thrive. As senators of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, I want to thank you for working across party lines once you step into the red chambers. Our efforts must be focused on restoring hope, righting the wrongs, and upholding the commitments to the well-being of our people. Together we have so far fueled renewed hope, and we have fueled renewed spirit of fraternity, unity, and solidarity. We must continue in this direction, cooperating generously for the common good of all.
Oh, it has been wonderful, and very cordial, because we have a president who knows it, has been a player in a democratic experience right from 1999, the Fourth Republic, even before that. So he knows what it entails to have a cordial relationship among these three arms of government. And the wonderful leadership he has been providing for this country has strengthened the constitutional interface, the constitutional cordiality amongst these three arms of government.
The 10th National Assembly took off in high spirits, fully aware of its role as the bastion of democracy that works with other arms of government to make laws for the order and good governance of the country. On August 7, 2023, the newly inaugurated Senate accentuated the National Assembly's constitutional role by duly screening and confirming President Tinubu's ministerial nominees, a positive pointer to the burgeoning relationship among the three arms of government.
The 10th House of Representatives has demonstrated a commitment to foster a harmonious but professional relationship with the executive, a relationship between the two arms based on mutual respect and respect for our distinct constitutional mandates. Is fundamental for efficient governance, political stability, effective legislation, and the overall health of our democratic system. It ensures that both arms of government work in synergy for the betterment of Nigeria and our constituents.
Also, the way and manner the nominees of Mr. President for appointment into various agencies of government or the ministerial confirmation were done in such a way that clearly portrays a very close working relationship between the executive and the legislature, as well as the confirmation of the Supreme Court justices that was also brought before before the 10th Senate.
He did that across party line so as to be able to also help in complementing his effort to kickstart governance. Like we all know, he has this renewed hope agenda, which I think there can be no better time than now.
Another affirmative indicator was the passage of the 2023 supplementary budget in November 2023, less than a month after it was transmitted by the executive. One of the major achievements of the 9th Assembly was the return of Nigeria's budget cycle to January to December, a fiscal reform that Nigerians greeted with relish and yearned for its sustenance. The January to December budget cycle can only be sustained when the unity of purpose between the executive and the legislature is maintained, as any slack in that sense of urgency and commitment by the two arms could jeopardize the cycle. The synergy among these foundation institutions not only drives good governance, respect for human rights and freedoms, but also adorns and eases the business environment for foreign direct investments.
The principles of ease of doing business in Nigeria. Before now, we have had the Presidential Enabling Business Environment, which is popularly known as PEBEC. It was set up and it's being chaired by the Vice President. So if it is raised to that level, you can imagine the importance that the government attaches to this ease of doing business. This has been on since 2016 when the present administration came. Rather than have it jettisoned, it has been, improved upon. So that is why it is easy for us to have people come to Nigeria. Apart from this, a number of laws have, and many more are being, looked into, all with a view to bring the worrisome aspects, or areas of concern for address.
I make bold to say that this time around the parliamentarians have received the best of cooperation, and I can assure you too that the executive have received the best of cooperation from the parliamentarians. So for me, it's work in progress, and like we've always advocated, that all hands must be on deck for us to achieve and be able to move this country forward.
In practical terms, since the primary objective of any government or any arm of government is to bring about peace, order, and good governance of the country, there is a need for a mutually symbiotic relationship between the three arms of government with a view to bringing the dividends of democracy to their doorsteps. So in view of that fact, though the Constitution presupposes separation of powers of legislative, executive, and judicial duties, in practical operation, the three arms of government come together
with a view to delivering the greatest number of goods to the greatest number of Nigerians in view of the social contract that exists between the people, between the governed and the government.
The constructive engagements of these organs of state in the last 12 months has, among others, brought about the full complement of the justices of the Supreme Court, a feat that has never been achieved since 1963 when the Apex Court was established. It was certainly the breaking of a jinx that will positively speed up the dispensation of justice in the country.
Supreme Court of Nigeria has never had it, good. When I came to the Supreme Court in 2011, I came as number 16 and I was the last on the list. By the following year, 2012, there were disengagement. People retired, then 2 other people joined, and we had remained 16, 18, 16, 14, and so on. By the time I was able to bring on board these additional 11 justices of the Supreme Court had only 10 justices. And these 10 were the only one that sat on the all appeal on election matters that came to the Supreme Court. We were overwhelmed. So when we started, we believe we should get the full complement of 21, including the Chief Justice. So we asked for recommendations. The procedure has always been, justices of this court, heads of various courts, retired justices and chief justices will all recommend from amongst the justices of the Court of Appeal and legal practitioners, because the Constitution talks about 15-year post-call and active practice of law. So finally, we got recommended 22 justices of the Court of Appeal, out of which we finally recommended to Mr. President 11 that are found appointable, fit and proper. So it was the cooperation that I got from Mr. President and the Senate President and, my colleagues. My colleagues were anxious to have, other members of this court join us so that we had been overwhelmed with so much work, backlogs so heavy.
In the last 1 year, especially during the period under review, particularly during this new regime of His Excellency President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, you discover that the working relationship between the executive arm, the legislative arm, and indeed the judicial arm has been so cordial. Cordial to the extent that the first thing the president did, which is very unprecedented, and he has broken the jinx and print his name in the annals of history of this country, is to ensure that the full complement of the justices of the Supreme Court is achieved. We have 100% the required number of judges that is needed at the Supreme Court. He didn't stop at that. Going to the Court of Appeal, you discover that there was a mass recruitment of judges to man the vacant positions in the Court of Appeal. To the Federal High Court, needless to mention, it trickled down to the FCT High Court. And of course, other state judiciaries have keyed in. And today, the Nigerian judiciary is robust.
More so, that the executive's proposed wage increase for judicial officers is happily being attended to by the National Assembly. Interestingly, the last time the salary of judicial officers was reviewed was close to 2 decades ago in 2007.
The latest in the series, and we are still counting, is the one dealing with increment in the salaries and emolument of justices. Now, the last time the judges, and we commend their patience, we appreciate their patience and perseverance. The last time they had anything like increment in their salaries and emolument was in 2007. Yes, 2007. Between 2007 and 9. Now, we're looking at about 16, about 16, 17 years stagnated. Yet, that did not, move them to go away from the main cause of, administering justice. Now you have about 300% increase in their salaries and emolument.
Bill that is right now before the National Assembly for enhancing the emolument of members of the judiciary is right now before my committee, and immediately we resume is going to be attended to expeditiously and passed with a view to assent by Mr. President.
This robust engagement among the critical organs of government is spurring ongoing reforms of the justice system with the recent National Summit on Justice. The summit adopted the revised National Policy on Justice 2024 to 2028 to engender speedy dispensation of justice and restore public confidence in the judicial arm.
The National Justice Summit was to lay a solid foundation for the administration of justice. It's like a guide. Where are we going? How do we do it? We know that the law is there. What needs to be done? What needs to be changed? Or what needs to be achieved? We have looked at so many segments of the society, so many aspects of the society, the law. How do we do it? First, some will require some constitutional amendment. Some will require just amendment of existing laws. But at the end of the day, people-centered justice has been the focus of the summit. How do we make it easy for people to have justice within a very reasonable, very short time?
Another manifestation of the excellent relationship of the three arms under the renewed hope agenda was the allocation of resources to cushion the effects of global economic realities on the people.
We are looking for a way to cushion the effect of the subsidy removal, nothing more.
Well known to all is that the attainment of the fundamental objectives and directive principles of state policy as enshrined in Chapter 2 of the 1999 Constitution as amended is largely dependent on the collective efficiency and effectiveness of the three arms of government.
The purpose of constituency project is to address some issues that may not be seen at that level.
Constituency project is what brings the impact of federal government presence down to our local communities.
Over time, Nigeria has faced daunting challenges with issues of security, a difficult situation that requires national consciousness and collective action. The National Assembly has had engagements with the executive on how to address this national challenge. On February 13, 2024, the Senate engaged the service chiefs on security. Subsequently, in the same month, the House of Representatives convened sectoral briefings where ministers, heads of agencies and parastatals spoke on key national issues, challenges and prospects. Good governance, which caters for the freedom, welfare and well-being of the citizenry, is best guaranteed with separation of powers, which give effect to the rule of law. Although this is an ideal Nigeria perpetually aspires to under democracy, It is expedient to note that in the last 1 year under the Tinubu administration, the three arms of government have truly begun to evolve into a people-centric, good governance whole, as envisioned by the Constitution. It is hoped that, without necessarily compromising their independence, the three arms will continue to work together to uplift the people and the Nigerian nation.
Youth, especially our children, we should start giving them a proper reorientation.